I'd like to talk a little bit about the scheme itself and also touch on a couple of other things that we mentioned earlier on a couple of other products or schemes, one with CESG and one with DSTL. A little bit about APMG if you don't know us. We are a certification body. We're accredited by UCAS in the UK. We are global. We have offices around the world. And we do take our own medicine. So as well as those accreditations, we have been through Investors in People. We do have an independent ethics and standards board to provide oversight to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And all of that built up into 2012, where we were awarded the Queen's Award for International Trade because of our ability to take UK best practice and grow it to global standards. So I suppose our key success was taking, at the time, Cabinet Office best practice in Programme Project Management, Prince2 and MSP, and getting it established in 21 languages as a global standard on how to run and deliver programs and projects. So we're delighted to have been working with CSG now for about 3 years in the cyberspace. This is the scheme, and all of our accreditations take a similar approach. The interesting thing for training, I think, as Chris alluded to, is that there is no common standard or body of knowledge of what constitutes IA training. And one of the challenges we had, where we were fortunate, and there's some very interesting discussions with people from CSG on what is the right standard. And we started with the IISP skills framework. And after a few iterations, realized it wasn't the appropriate framework for really assessing training courses. It was the appropriate framework for the underlying skills, but we needed to do some development work. Fortunately for us, unfortunately, I think for some of the guinea pigs, that took a couple of iterations with them until we actually got to a reasonable standard. So our biggest problem was identifying, well, what is the standard we can assess courses against? And we now have that. The other issue is what percentage of the course needed to actually map against those standards, because we didn't want to stop innovation, and we didn't want to reject courses that are currently in the marketplace because they didn't have 100% coverage. And we arrived at an arbitrary 80%, and that seems to have worked quite well in practice. So the first thing is for the process to work. An organisation sends in an application form and they carry out a self-assessment against that skills framework, against that course framework. That's then reviewed by assessors. All of our assessors are CCP. So they all come from an IA, a security background. They're all members of CLAS, they're all members or people who have been through the CCP program. And we have access to about, I think it's about 30 or 40 IA professionals who work with us on a variety of IA schemes. So when we send an assessor in, we expect them to be credible in front of the trainer that they're actually going to assess. We expect them to be able to challenge that trainer, challenge that training company on the relevance and the content of their material. So it's not an easy process, and afterwards, when we're having lunch and a networking session, I'd welcome anybody or ask you to go and talk to some of the training companies and just get a feel for the level of that assessment. I think that's one of the very key messages we've always had from CSG. This isn't, if you're in the game, you stay in the game. This is about if you actually have a course in the market and you want to carry the CSG badge, you have to meet the CSG standard. And you have to go through that process. There are no exemptions. There is no easy way through it. The actual assessment process itself is, can the organisation deliver training? So do they have a quality management system? Do they have a booking system? Do they have a complaints process? Do they have an appeals process? Are they a professional training company who one is happy for organisations to go and contract with to deliver training? Are the trainers knowledgeable? That's quite a challenge for us in this market because these courses are quite varied. So, a trainer may be a very competent and knowledgeable person delivering one course, but they may not be as knowledgeable delivering a similar course. So the trainers are actually accredited and approved against a course, and if they deliver another course in the portfolio, we want to test their knowledge on that second course. And is the material relevant? Now, we're not making a judgment on whether it is a course the assessor would like to deliver. So if an organisation has a lot of PowerPoints and that's their delivery mechanism, they can actually get through the process. But we are expecting a reasonable blend of material and some engagement with the candidates. We do go and watch the trainer train, and we do watch that the trainer has an interaction with the course delegates. So every organisation that's actually been accredited, we've checked their QMS, we've checked their trainers and knowledge about the course they're delivering, and we've checked their material meets the standard. And that is the overall process. The other key thing about it, every 3 years, that course will be fully reassessed. Now, we might need to bring that 3 years forward. As Chris says, this market, this world's changing so quickly. Every course is up for annual surveillance, and if a course is no longer relevant, it will lose its badge. And I think that's the first time as APMG we've been in a market where we can see the market and the knowledge in the market moving faster necessarily than some of the training courses. So if the standard changes and is no longer the standard, the course will have to evolve to meet that new standard. We can't have legacy material around cyber that is out of date carrying the CESG badge. Otherwise, it will make a nonsense of the scheme. That's going to be quite a challenge for the training community, because most training companies have got a course, and with due respect to them, there's very little changes to that underpinning body of knowledge. My background's project management. The body of knowledge in project management probably hasn't changed significantly for 40 years. There's been some additions, but there's been no rejections or no, what would be, redactions maybe in the current world. These days, things will change, and I think that's going to be a huge challenge. That's a challenge for us, making sure things are relevant. It's a challenge for the training community who want to have the CSG badge. Because one of the other key things with this course, with this scheme, is when we market it, we've got to be very clear about what the scheme is aimed at, what the course is aimed at. The marketing material that says anybody from the directors, senior managers, project managers, service managers, cleaners, typists, secretaries, and doorkeepers will be welcome on this course is no good. It's got to be targeted, marketed, so that people know exactly what it is they're buying. And that's, again, quite a challenge. And we've had some quite interesting debates, both with training companies and indeed with people within CESG about what is fair on the application of those courses. So we do expect to see quite a lot of change, and we do expect to see some courses being redundant because the world has moved on. I think that's going to be quite an interesting set of conversations my colleagues are going to have with the people we've accredited. This is what we see to be the benefits. And again, when we started with CSG, their brief to us was it's about quality. It's not about volume at that level of courses we accredit. It is about, are the courses good enough? So we said to them, we don't expect many people to fail, because people will keep going back and reviewing and updating their material until they get it through the process. So the quality isn't about how many people apply and are rejected. The quality is about what comes out at the end. Now, it sounds very arrogant, but that is the brief. It is, there's a standard that's agreed with CSG. Because of the process, it's improved with feedback from the training companies. And we've taken feedback from the training companies back to CSG. We've argued that, and I use that word advisedly. We've argued that with them, and then we've gone back to the training companies. So this truly is a partnership approach with CSG, ourselves, and the training community, trying to get the right standard and to drive up quality. So that's the approach. For the training providers who go through the process, hopefully they will see it as a way of actually differentiating their courses from all the other courses in the marketplace. And gradually, from a buying perspective, people will look for the CESG badge. That's why it's great today. There's 8 organisations and indeed 13 courses that have been through the process. So we already have a pretty vibrant community, so people could start to look for the CESG badge. And I think for the organisations buying it, it means it has been independently assessed. Somebody has said it is fit for purpose. For the candidates, one hopes that they take it a view that there is an added quality there. It's not just the trading company saying what it's about. It is an independent organisation saying we also think this is good for quality. And if you think about it from both the organisation's point of view and the individual's point of view, and as Chris said, you go on a training course, how do you know it's going to deliver any benefit? We hope the accredited courses will truly deliver benefit because they will be based on best practice and they will be targeted. Chris also mentioned IISP. I think the other organisation that we have had conversations with are eSkills. We had hoped to reach an agreement with eSkills before the launch about joint promotion. As it is about tying things up, we are working with IISP. We're going to encourage trainers that we accredit to become a member of IISP so that they are linked into a professional network to grow their IA skills. Not all of the trainers are professionals as in out doing consultancy work, but it's trying to make sure there is a seamless link between what we're doing on CCT, with what CESG are looking for, with what IISP are looking for in terms of professional development of IS professionals, and indeed tying into eSkills in terms of their wider promotion of the eSkills products in the UK. So I think I said earlier, we have 8 approved training providers, there's 12 courses that we have now certified, and there's 9 other organisations going through the process. Courses are assessed at 2 levels. There's an awareness level, which is a basic introductory course, and then there's an application level, which means that at the end of it, someone's capability is assessed. So picking up on Chris's comment, anybody that has been through an application course with a CESG badge will lead to a qualification. Now that qualification may come from BCS, it may come from CompTIA, it may come from ISACA, and we're saying we'd also work with organisations who don't have a recognised award at the end of that application course to develop an award with them so that can be independently assessed. So there will be the 2 levels. Awareness is that fundamental basic introduction to whatever the topic is about, to start to grow people on that career path that Chris mentioned. And the application level is at the end of it somebody has proven that they can do something that they learnt on that course. And those are the two different levels where we will be very clear on the websites when we market the courses, and we will police what the training providers do on their courses, that they are clear about that. And then hopefully as people become much more aware of that differentiation, people will be able to choose the appropriate course for members of staff. Chris mentioned Certified Professional, and as he said, we've been working with CESG for, I think it's 2-3 years. There's 3 certification bodies for the Certified Professional. There's IISP, BCS, and ourselves. And this is an assessment of competence or capability. So there were 6 roles when we started. We've introduced a 7th role within the last sort of 6 to 9 months, which is the pen tester. And there are discussions about other roles that might be added to it. One of the biggest disappointments I think all the certification bodies have is the lack of interest from the wider private sector. That although there are something like 1,100 individuals that have actually been assessed through that whole program across those 3 certification bodies, most of those are still really focused on the public sector. Now, as Chris said, the idea is to work with the private sector to maybe make some of the names more user-friendly, but underpinning skills, capabilities, and work that needs to be done is the same, I believe, whether it is in the public or the private sector. So we'd like to see, we will be getting involved in more of a marketing campaign to sell CCP to the private sector. And as an illustration of CESG's commitment to make this work, they're actually making people available on secondment to help us actually go out and sell and position and promote this stuff. So there's now a real drive to try to get CCP spread across private and public sector. As Chris said, it's about the people who know what you don't know, who can actually go in and help organisations truly understand, what is the cyber issues they're facing, what are the IA issues they're facing. And it is based on competence and capability. So there's no training associated with CCP. There's no exams directly associated with CCP. It's whether you meet the standard within the CCP skills framework, which is available from CESG. This is now a little bit of a sales pitch, so apologies for this. We also have a contract with DSTL that have developed a cyber defense capability tool, CDCAT. And CDCAT takes a different approach to a number of other tools that might be available. So it's a decision-making tool from a risk-based approach for an organization, and enables an organization to look at what vulnerabilities it faces and come up with a structured plan in which they can deal with those vulnerabilities. So it can actually target and focus investment on dealing with a potential cyber threat. So we believe that if you combine CDCAT, CCT and CCP, you have a pretty good chance of actually being pretty cyber secure. So where you have CDCAT and CCP starts to grow the organization's capability to understand the threats that it's facing, identify them and come up with mitigating strategies in a cost-efficient manner. And I'd stress the cost-efficient manner because clearly we can all throw tons and tons of money at stuff, but unless that money is invested wisely, it's going to be wasted. The combination of CCP and CCT grows a very knowledgeable, skilled and capable workforce who understand the threats, are trained appropriately and can give some serious career development and opportunities within the organization. CCT and CDCAT will start to identify weaknesses of people in the organization, which can then be close to the training on CCT. So if you combine the three products, you actually have best practice, picking up on Kieran's comment, coming out of UK public sector that is available for the private sector and indeed is available internationally. Now, we've already had conversations with people in Australia, people in America about the use of some of these tools and the application of some of those tools in that market. We are part of UK Tech, we're part of some of the cyber initiatives that are trying to promote this UK best practice. But of course, my colleagues who understand this tell me, this is all very good, Richard, but if there's only 90% protection there, it's still weakness. If you patch 90% of the holes in the boat is still sinking. So one can't be complacent. It is identify it, deal with it, go back, identify with it, identify some more, and deal some more. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to cover on the program and some other tools.